Hello, everyone. IMS welcomes you all to our webinar series, The B School Insider, all you need to know about your dream school. And I'm your host, Kalyani Majumdar. So in today's session, our topic is JBIMS, Campus Life, Placements, Academics. So in this webinar, you'll find out about the personal journey of the 4 panelists who have joined us today, from their test prep experience to the selection process at JB, the academic schedule and faculty, MBA and MSc Finance at JBIMS, the placement process at the campus, and we will also have a glimpse of the campus in the photo gallery section and more. So today our speakers are Aniket Tanavade. He is an MMS alumnus from batch 2018. He is a category manager with Tata CliQ. We have Prathamesh Shinde. He is an MMS alumnus from batch 2021. He is a project manager with Persistent Systems. We have Shashank Parekh. He's an MSc Finance alumnus from batch 2019, and he is a consultant with PwC. And we have Dhaval Somaya. He is also MSc Finance alumnus from batch 2018. He's a VP Investments with Avendus. So welcome all of you, and thank you so much for being here today for this session. So let's start with your journey. So tell us about your JBIMS experience. How much did you score in your CAT or CET? How many months did you prepare for it? Anything specific to JBIMS that you guys prepared for? And also MSc Finance, Shashank and Dhaval, can you also please tell us why did you opt for the MSc Finance program? So we can start with Aniket, then Prathamesh, then Shashank, and then Dhaval. Yeah, Aniket.
Sure. Thanks, Kalyani and Team IMS for having us. So good morning, all of you. So I'm Aniket. I've been part of the Tata CliQ team for a year or so. And before that, I was with Samsung. So my journey to JBIMS was quite interesting. So I used to work with TCS for 2.5 years. And at the same time, I was preparing for an MBA entrance exam. For the first year, I was really trying, to manage my work and, the entrances in every preparation aspect, but it was getting really difficult. So for the second year, what I tried and, what proved effective for me to get into a top college was that getting the goals right? Which are the colleges that I want to target. So it might be JB, it might be NM, it might be FMS. So I made a list of colleges and then I prepared, accordingly to suit the goals. So because the preparation for CAT and preparation for CET is very different, because CAT relies on a higher accuracy and examination like CET depends on your speed.
Okay.
So that is what I had to get sorted before I started with, my prep for CET. I scored 99.89 in CET. I could not score that well in CAT because of one particular section. But I did manage to score well in other exams. So in ZAT, I had close to 98. In NMAT, I had, I guess, 99.3 or something. And in SNAP, I had 99.5 or something. So despite not doing well in CAT, I still had 3 or 4 options to choose from in the really good schools. And JP was the obvious choice for me for a couple of points. One thing was the proximity to major companies and major corporates, which created a lot of corporate interface for us. And secondly, it was the kind of pedagogy and the kind of professors that we enjoy at JB. So we have a lot of visiting faculties who are well-reputed names in their own fields. So that was the reason for me to choose JBIMS over other colleges. It was a blur, to be very honest. The 2 years went by like, like a snap of a finger. And I still remember the first day that we joined was way back in, July 2016. And that 1 week passed away in like, I think it's like 5 minutes because it's so intensive. All the induction process was so comprehensive. There was so much to do. And I think that summed up our journey in JB. So essentially it started so fast and it ended so fast. All we had was the time.
So Aniket, we will be talking about the first day at the campus and all in the next section, in the academic section. So can you also tell us, like, maybe, give 1 or 2 pointers about how to prepare for CET and how many months did it take for you? Yeah.
Sure. So I think getting the basics right is very important, right? So verbal is not as taxing as what you would find in CAT. So typically just covering your basic syllogisms, covering your basic synonyms, and all the basic stuff should get you covered for verbal.
Okay.
For quant, at least having all the formulas on top of your minds is very important, because it's up to speed, and speed will only come as a function of practice. So for me, at least, what worked was that for the last 3 months, I tried to give as many mock tests as possible, full length mock tests. So those typically took 3 hours to give. And at the end of each test, I used to analyze my performance. So where I was going wrong, which were the problems which I could not get right, but I was spending a lot of time on, and how do I avoid it in the exam? Because in the exam, you cannot just keep on attempting every question as a matter of your ego. You have to pick and choose the battles you want to take. So for the candidates, I would suggest that practice as much as possible. So a typical benchmark would be at least 45 tests in your free mode and 15 proctored tests. So proctored will be either in a classroom kind of a setting or supervised at home by a video cam, whatever it is, just to get the feel of that examination.
Right.
So that was my preparation journey. And I think that is something that I could recommend to the candidates.
Okay. And what was your, what did you do in your bachelor's?
I have completed my electronics and telecom engineering from Vidyalanka. So I did that back in 2012.
Okay. Yeah, Prathamesh.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for having us, and good to know you, Aniket. Okay, we are meeting here for the first time. Okay, so it's a great platform for me also to interact with some of my seniors over here. Okay, so ma'am, to start with, no, I did my bachelor's in engineering, same as Aniket in electronics and telecommunication from Third World Sani Engineering College, which is here in Mumbai itself. Okay, and then I got my placements at Accenture. I worked there for 2 years.
Okay.
While I was there, I had a set of people around me who were also preparing for their MBA exams, entrance exams.
Okay.
So we had a set of individuals, and we had a close knit group who would discuss about this. A lot of times, how is the preparation and going on. So that is where my actual this thing began. Okay, the actual nuances of all these things really began. Okay, and in the first year, it was really tough managing a job and uh, you know, uh, preparing for the entrance exams and giving mocks on a day-to-day basis, etc. So yes, it was really hard to do that. So after working there for about 25 odd months, I decided to quit my job, and I focus entirely on my preparation.
Okay.
So it was a big decision for me, because of course, like no, you're almost taking a gamble, not knowing what to do ahead, and you are not even sure if you are going to be able to nail it or not. Okay, because it would mean a rigorous preparation and a lot of dedication. But thankfully, I had the support of my mentor Prasad sir, who right now is with IMS itself. Okay, and so basically, that is where my intensive preparation began. I ensured that I used to give, no, even before I complete, I did not wait till my entire syllabus gets over or anything. The main focus of yours should be that once you get through a topic, it is important that you go through the sectional part of it, give the sectional mocks as much as possible. And even if, let's say, you are not through with 100% of the syllabus, even if you are, let's say, 50 to 60% of your syllabus, you should ensure that you go on by taking a full length mock. Okay, because that is where the real no test is. Okay, and to be honest, the uh, basic preparation for CAT and for CET, it is the same, because the basics are same everywhere.
Okay.
You see the verbal, you see the quant, and you see the logical reasoning as well. Of course, like as Aniket mentioned, verbal is slightly on a higher side, and it's bit intensive here compared to your CET. So that is where you have the verbal on a easier side compared to CET, but that is where you need to be no very thorough with respect to your time management. Okay, so if you talk about CET, I would suggest that it is a game of taking 200 management decisions in about 150 odd minutes. So you cannot spend about no more than about 45 seconds on a single question. So I would like to compare this with an analogy. Like, let's say if you are waiting for a bus at a bus stop, and you realize that you are waiting there for too long, but you see a railway station which is close by. So it's up to you. You have to reach your destination. You have to choose between, if you can take your railway station, which can you can take a train which can lead you to the same destination, compared to waiting for a bus, which may take time or it may not even come again.
Correct.
Okay. So as much as possible, try to go through all the questions during the course of that time, because there are a certain set of questions which are pretty easy and you will be on a roll, okay, while you are there. Okay. And that will set you up, that will set up the tone for the few questions.
Okay.
So the most important tip here would be to make sure that you go through all the questions which are there in the exam. Okay. And do not leave any stone unturned in terms of the preparation. uh, when you are very much close to the entrance exams, let's say about 2 months or 1.5 months before the exam, you have to ensure that you give mock on a daily basis or on an alternate basis. Okay. So I would suggest that no, possibly about 38 to 45 entrance mock test before the CET would come in handy. Okay. It's not a short figure that would assure you that no, it depends upon the individual preparation as well, a lot of times. And when I compare this with CAT, of course the figure more or less stands somewhere close. Okay. But then there are other exams as well. Okay. So you need not, you have to keep your options open. You need to, you cannot keep all your eggs in one basket. Okay. So the way you are preparing for every exam, it considering that CET is the exam which is at the end of the season. Okay. End of the season exam for all the entrance exams, you would get a fair amount of preparation going before that, before you even appear for CET.
Right.
And one more plus point which I would suggest, for a lot of guys here who are preparing and who are aspirational for cracking CET, it's important that you also appear for these government exams which are being conducted by IBPS. Because IBPS is the board who conducts the exam, who sets the pattern for all the government exams, and a lot of times the pattern and the set of questions can be seen repeated in CET as well. Okay. So that is about the preparation part, and then I hope that answers.
Yes.
We'll leave the rest of the things later on for your further questions.
Thanks, Prathamesh. Shashank. So Shashank, why did you choose MSc Finance? That's one thing, definitely, you have to kind of cover as well as Nawal, you too, and So Shashank, yeah.
So, Kalyani, my journey has been sort of different compared to the other panelists out here. I'm a non-engineer. I did my bachelor's in economics from Symbiosis.
Okay.
And looking at the avenues that were put forth at that time in front of me were, a master's degree in economics or in India or abroad. And largely that was what was the thought process that went behind when I was trying to pick out a course. So unlike any prep from in terms of like a B school intensive prep, mine was more centered towards finding economic programs, MA economic courses in India and abroad, giving my GMAT, GRE. And then suddenly this blip popped up saying, I am a resident of Bombay, so Bombay ke andar there's another college which has a master's in science program in finance. And I was like, this sits very well in terms of multiple aspects. One is the fact that the proximity from home, and second, institute's reputation. Third would be the ROI that the course was providing. And that's when I started prepping for the CET and looking at the entrance structure at that time for JB. So the Masters in Science has over a period of time had different entrance formats. I'm not sure which one is currently being followed, but
now it is CET, I believe. CET and CAT board, and
So typically that was the case for a few batches. Some batches gave their own entrance exam, JB's own entrance exam. And the one thing that was always constant was the GD, PI, and structure that they have had. And since Aniket and Prathamesh have fairly covered most of the entrance prep parts of it,
Yeah.
I could probably delve deeper into the PI and PI, GD and PI structure, where largely what one realizes is that the GDPI structure is very similar or akin to the ones you would have at a CAT school, if I had to put it that way. You would have a panel of 2 people who would interview you basis your profile, and they would want to understand what you've done. Prior to that, there is usually a GD round, which would have somewhere between 8 to 10 people, and the topics could be very random. They could discuss the new visa policy that the US is implementing for Indians and its impact, or it could be something very abstract saying red, why is red the color for danger? So it could go either way.
Yeah. Okay.
So that would largely be so the prep is more on the aspects that you don't have to cut people off while you're in the GD.
Okay.
In the PI, one thing that you need to be cognizant about is that the panel is sitting in front of you probably has a combined industry experience of over 60 years. So faffing about a question that you do not have an answer to is not going to help you out a lot. So if you know an answer, answer it directly. If you do not, just say you don't know.
Okay. Yeah. That's all you want to add on?
Yeah.
Any tips, anything? No?
No.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah, Dhawan.
Hi, Kalyani. Thank you for having me here. So my journey towards prep began, again, I share the same background like Prathamesh and Aniket. I'm also an electronics and telecommunications engineer from Mumbai University. I started my prep sometime around the 4th year of my engineering itself for CAT. In the first attempt, I got quite a few calls from IIMs, but again, I think I was not better prepared for, WAT GDPI back then. And I couldn't get into the school of my choice. So basically, again, I started working with a fintech firm, and I worked for a year, and I appeared again. I took CAT, CET, all the exams. And I had multiple calls from new IIMs. In CET, I think I narrowly missed, because as you know that in the MMS program, you directly get into the CET score itself. And in MSc Finance, there was a separate examination that used to be conducted, as Shashank mentioned already. There have been years wherein there has been a common entrance process. There have been years wherein there were separate exams. Right now, I believe there is a common process with GDPI followed. So, and I had a call from Auxiliary HR, and I was very clear that during my work ex, I worked with a fintech firm, and I was very clear that finance is the way ahead. So I was very headstrong about going into finance and not any other course. And between new IIMs and JBIMS Finance, it was very clear that I was getting what I wanted, finance, and obviously the ROI is always in favor of JB. It used to be more back then, because back then the fees were very low. It was 2 lakhs for 2 years. So after FMS, it's the best ROI B school in India. And still continues to be one amongst the best after in that league, at least. I think Sidnam is another one wherein you can consider the ROI. And what you give up is, of course, the campus life. There is no doubt about that. Why finance? Again, you have to be very headstrong if you want to get into MSc Finance. There's no turning back. If you choose for this course, you should not choose it just because it's JB. You should choose it because you want to go ahead with finance. You have to be very clear about it. So if you are not clear, if any candidate is not clear that, what is it that I would like or I would want to do, or I want to keep my options open, then, a plain simple MBA program from any, whatever the school of choice is the best way out.
Right.
And in terms of my experience during the GDPI, again, in GD, as far as I clearly remember, there was the Uri attacks had just happened just a couple of months before our process, and hence the topic was revolving around that should India indulge in such surgical strikes, and how Does it place India in terms of its, geopolitical positioning?
Right.
And in PI, of course, they try to get to the depth in terms of why do you want to get into finance? Why finance? Do you really have that inclination, or you are just, again, trying to pass the muster and get into Jamnagar Bachar? So that one thing is very clear. And of course, in terms of what is it that has interested you, your journey, that's what the majority of the interview will revolve around. There might be certain questions, certain technical questions, depending upon the panelists, which may happen. But it's not something that can be a binary thing wherein you cannot crack in the interview and if you don't know the answers to them. Right. So I think broadly the process is fairly simple. One has to be very clear, very focused, and of course they should be prepared well in terms of how do they go about steering their interview.
Right.
And I think IMS does a pretty good job in terms of, I've been an IMS alumnus, so they do a pretty good job towards the end when you have those sessions wherein where GDPI training is given.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Noel. Any additional tips for non-engineering background students with less grip on maths? Shashank, can you take this?
Yeah, so again, I think all the three panelists covered it. It's about practice. So a lot of the times, what I have seen is that students would pick up topics and deep dive into those until the point where they are well versed with it. But solving a bunch of different questions as you would receive in a mock examination has a different way of going about it, because then you have to pull your cut your cords when you know that this particular sum is not solvable. Okay. Or so one is that. Second is there would be a little extra effort in terms of the quants that you have to do. Because of the fact that most non-engineering background students are not as well versed with quants, and they don't use it on a very day-to-day basis as compared to engineers. So those are two areas that you need to focus on. And the idea is that you solve multiple questions from different areas, do a lot of mock papers. It should help you sail through. Right. I mean, a CET paper is not particularly something which is very quant intensive, rather it is speed intensive. Okay. So the idea should be to solve maximum number of questions in the lowest amount of time possible.
Okay. Is CMAT prep different from that of CET and CAT? Who can take this question?
I can take this.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah. So in CMAT, there is one additional section which is about general knowledge. You have to go through, you have to separately prepare for that. Okay. It could be going through the newspapers or running through the monthly PDFs of some important news or weekly news. Okay, that would enable you to cover for that section. The preparation for the rest of the sections is pretty same. Verbal, maths, and logical reasoning. Every year there is one pattern that they follow, that one of the one of the section in the CMAT, it could be a bit on a higher side. I mean, the difficulty could be on a higher side compared to the previous year. Okay, but it's manageable. Okay, and the only thing that I see here is there is a way to JBIMS through CMAT, and you can have a shot at that. I mean, all India students, because there are about 18 odd seats which are there. I mean, everyone will be aware about the structure here, as the they put it up in the post the exams and all. I mean, post the results are out. So you have got a set of seats which are about 18, so you can have a shot to that through CMAT. Okay, the preparation for the rest of the three sections is pretty same as for CET. It is just for general knowledge you need to put in extra effort. Okay. And I believe that if someone is preparing for, let's say, the VAT, okay, what IMS presents, okay, there are a lot of things which also get covered through that. Okay, so a lot of your general knowledge or your general awareness question, basic economy related question, also could get covered through that part.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, there are a lot of resources available, and going through the past year's question sets also do, because see, there is a bit of bifurcation between the static GK and the current GK. So you need to focus more on the current side, okay? Because static GK, you don't know what you can expect. Okay, it
Okay.
can be anything. The things can be as far as like 15th or 16th century or history related things, which you probably should not worry more about. But it's about the current affairs side that you should be more covered. You should be more covered on that front.
Okay.
That will help you to ace that section.
Okay. Okay. Um, uh, okay. This is for Dhawal. Between older IIMs, FMS, etc., and JBIMS, MSc Finance, which one is better if you are headstrong about finance?
Well,
So old
see,
IIMs as well as FMS. Yeah. So they are also there.
so in old IIMs, you need to understand that every IIM has its own forte. Okay, not that you will not get good finance placements out of any of the older IIMs. Okay, we have to accept the fact that still there are at least A, B, C will supersede Jamnalal Bajaj in case of any stream that you want to prefer. But for finance, particularly, IIM Calcutta is the one which will be slightly way ahead in terms of the finance, the curriculum, the choice of professors, and of course the placements. And obviously, there are some shared professors between Jamnalal Bajaj and IIM Calcutta. There is no doubt about that also. But again, if it were between just the older IIMs and JBMSc Finance, then obviously they will they will any day win hands down.
Okay.
If you're getting it, then nothing like it. But again, you need to understand each and every IIM has its own. Say, for example, A is more of a consulting kind of a campus, or even genuine kind of a campus to a good extent, and even a good marketing campus, but might not be the case for finance. Same, Calcutta is again a very finance focused campus. IIM Bangalore is known to be a very strong consulting campus. So every IIM has its own niche and forte carved out. And the newer IIMs, or even IKLS, all of those IIMs, they still have somehow their roots to the ABC, because when they began, they had either of these three as their mentors. And their niches are also somehow, if you see, carved out on the basis of ABC only, and they have followed those lines. Okay. Newer IIMs again have clearly lined out mentors, so you can assume that that's the stream where their focus will be eventually. So again, if finance is the focus, and if you're not getting ABC, then there is definitely MSc Finance that you can definitely consider. Again, the number of seats are very limited in MSc Finance, so that also serves as a inhibitor in the overall sense.
Right. Okay. Aniket, can you answer this? Maybe one or two tips on how do you cover the topic on preparation for VARC for CET, specifically VARC?
I think the level of English command that is expected in CET for VARC is not as Kat has earlier mentioned, right? So how I would go it is, if you are long-term prep, right? If you're preparing for say 1.5 years, I would start by reading newspapers a lot. I would start by reading articles a lot, understanding words, understanding the sentence formations. Okay. And that would essentially build up to a year's cadence of, working towards how do you build up your repertoire in the English language. But if it's a short-term kind of a deal, right? You have given a CAT, you have given other exams, and you're not confident of cracking them. And then you come up to CET as your last option. Then you only are left with 3 or 4 months to prepare. Okay. In that situation, going through sectionals for VRC, right? IMS provides them, Time provides, all the classes provide them. You can also get some free of charge on the internet as well. So reading more passages would entail that your reading speed improves, and the sooner your reading speed improves, your comprehension improves, right? So VRC typically is about interpretation of what is given there in the passage, or it is about finding out what it could lead to, like what is the inference that you can derive from it. So that is a function of how fast you can read. So my suggestion is, if a long time, you can really build up as your skill set in your personal development itself by reading newspapers and articles. But if it's a short-term thing, do you just want to crack the exams, please do the sectionals very well on that.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Well, Shashank, tell me something. When somebody is a fresher, how do you build your profile? As in how exactly? Because there must be other people in your class, in your batch, who were already working and had like good amount of work experience. So what did you do for your, yeah.
So again, it's about the argument you build and why you want to go about doing something. So it is always going to be a question that pops up at the interviews that you're still a fresher. Don't you think that you should garner some work experience and then come and apply later? And justifying it is a factor of your, the way you structure it and why you're resolved towards doing a postgraduate degree without work experience that comes in out here.
Okay.
So you have to be very clear about why you want to go about being a fresher at a B school, because quite frankly, there are some disadvantages of being a fresher and going into B school, because you have never seen a corporate sphere and you're working on assumptions rather than real experience. So largely, if somebody is going ahead for an MBA, I would, as a fresher, suggest that gaining a couple of years of work experience isn't unhelpful for two reasons. One is you do get an idea about what the corporate sphere works and looks like. And two, let's face it, a work experience does count for points in final selection.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So let's move to the next section, which is all about academics. So we can then now talk about the JBIMS curriculum for both MMS and MSc Finance. So MMS, who can tell me a little bit, like roughly the difference between the, obviously, MMS is the MBA bit and MSc Finance is very, very specialized into finance. But the curriculum, how different are these two curriculums? Who will take the MMS bit? Aniket or Prathamesh? Both of you can. I mean, Aniket, you can start, and Prathamesh, if you want to add anything, then you can just add. Then Shashank and Dhaval, you guys can again do the same. Yeah. Okay, Aniket. Yeah. Just roughly the curriculum as in how it is. Yeah.
I think like most of the other colleges, we have a common first year, right? So we have subjects across specializations in the first year. So we start with finance, then we have marketing, operations, HR. Everything is common for all of us, as in people who take finance as a specialization in second year, marketing, HR or ops, whatever it is, right? So that is how a first year goes by. And the second year is specifically then you select the subjects that you want to do to, maybe select marketing as your specialization, finance as your specialization. So we do have that ability that we can in the first year maybe try out all the subjects, and then over the course of your summer internship decide that is what you want to do, and then you can probably select about them. And of course we have a good mix of people from the college itself, who are professors who have very rich history of teaching, and we also have a very good mix of professionals who are coming in for the past 20-30 years, who are our alums as well, and who come to give us the industry experience which is required. So I think that is a very quick overview. Prathamesh, you want to add something on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. To add to what Aniket mentioned, we do have got the choice in the very first year that we get an exposure of a lot of fields. Okay, maybe marketing, HR, operations, finance, information systems, and then you can take a call. So apart from that, as he mentioned, we get a lot of we get to do interact with our seniors a lot of times. Okay, the batch who's immediately next to you. So you get a lot of insights from them as well, like what is the level of rigorousness which is there associated with a particular specialization. What are the topics? What are the sort of assignments that are there, and what could be the opportunities going ahead? So yeah, for some of us, for some of the aspirants, it could be that they may not be interested in the specialization, but they are more keen on that opportunity. So that could also be one of the parameters that they consider. Of course, not a very good way to go about choosing a specialization, but definitely the insights that you seek from seniors, they also help you to try to clarify things a lot of times. To add to it, just as Aniket mentioned, the exceptional faculty that we have got, a lot of our faculty have been the visiting faculty who have been industry experts in their respective fields over the years, and they have been alums of our institute. So there is that brand legacy that they carry, and so they get in all their experience. Okay, apart from that, we do have got guest sessions which happen throughout the year, and every time when you have got guest sessions, you either have people who have been alums of this institute, and they come in, they share their experience. So even at times, whatever that specialization was, they try to also convey, like, what were the intricacies about that, and how has that helped them to progress in their particular fields over the years. So that also helps you to take a call about it. Okay. So that is just one additional point that JBMS allows you to get an exposure of the guest sessions which are there. Okay, that's also an important that's an important opportunity, and a very exciting opportunity, because you are getting to speak to industrialists and people who have been there, who have done that.
Is the faculty members same for MSc Finance and MMS, or are they completely different, or the visiting faculties are different? How does it work? Shashank, you have any idea?
I would rather give this question to Dhaval, because he used to schedule a lot of our lectures.
Okay. Yeah.
So for all the finance streams, the core faculty is the same. And the visiting faculty, see, how it works at Jamnalar Bajaj is that beyond the point, the curriculum is run by students. Okay. So we approach the visiting faculties, and as per their availabilities, they give us, their slots and everything. So usually they are common. Usually it's common, but because we have much more number of finance subjects, we have quite a few differentiated faculty. But at some point in time, even these visiting faculties in some years have taught MMS. So it's almost completely overlapping.
Okay. Yeah, Shashank, can you talk about the MSc Finance curriculum? Very briefly, as in how different it is from MMS and how specialized it is. Yeah.
So the MMS is a program which focuses, it is a typical MBA program, and you have to give it to them for having that holistic outlook towards having certain finance subjects, but rather other areas of specialization in the first year. And then in the second year, picking out your specialization. That being said, the MSc Finance, you are going to do core finance from day one, and there is no looking back at it then. So if you're iffy about what your choice in future is going to be, it is probably a detriment, because you made your choice on day one. Right. The curriculum is much more in depth. We usually look at subjects in the first year itself at a much granular level. We would go into areas which are defined as per industry rather than as broad concepts. Okay. So your accounting would typically look at how would you account for a role in equity research, or how would you account for a role in investment banking? What are the differences? What are the nuances? And these areas come into play later on when you're probably appearing for interviews, because of the fact that any candidate from MSc Finance would have a more nuanced set of skill sets in just finance, rather than a larger holistic broad view. So in terms of curriculum, it is highly structured towards finance, and the subjects are also in a way placed in a way, if I had to put it in a timeline, across 2 years, you move one level of difficulty after the other, and you do a much more complicated or much more intricate subject as you progress further.
Okay. Yeah. Let's, Dhaval, you want to add anything on this?
No, I think it's fairly just the same.
So let's talk about the first day, the first week at the campus. You all have to kind of jog your memories a bit, I guess, Dhaval and Aniket, from the 2018 batch. Yeah. So let's start from Dhaval, then Aniket, then Prathamesh, then Shashank. Yeah.
Sure.
First day, first week.
So for
And also,
all at
also
least
talk a little bit about the campus, as in the hostel life. Is there a hostel within and all that? You know, a little bit about the infrastructure of the campus.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So as you all know, it's one red iconic building
Yeah.
on Back Bay Reclamation. Okay, it's a single building, 4-story red colored building. Okay, that's it. That's all our campuses. The first week, as I don't know if the candidates are aware or not, but all the B schools, at least the tier 1 B schools, have the system of conducting an induction program. They may name it something else, but it remains broadly the same. It's a very rigorous training from the day one, and it kind of gives you that jump start or a jolt of, okay, you are no longer you are no longer into some kind of a bachelor's program. It's not going to be a so-called chilled college life. Okay, you are for a rude awakening. Okay, it's fun, and as I think Aniket was mentioning, that week just passes in a jiffy because you hardly get to sleep 2-3 hours a day. They wake you up in the middle of the night and make you do things, make you give you assignments. That's what my experience was. Okay, that we used to reach the campus at, I think, 7 in the morning, leave from the campus at 11 or 12 in the night, go back home, majority of us, those guys who are not staying in the hostels, and then in the middle of the night they'll send us an email with some assignment which we'll have to finish, submit it, and then again be back. And we have a very strict formal attire that we follow. I think it's across MMS, MSc, and even if that attire goes haywire, you are penalized for that. So I think that gives you a very strong training, especially if you have tasking careers like in consulting or in investment banking or investments for that matter, wherein you are required, to be alert, awake for 12, 14 hours a day at least, or maybe sometimes even more. So it gives you that glimpse of what corporate life can really look like for some of us, if not all of us. And yeah, it's fun. It's good. Apart from that, yes, in terms of campus, we lack it. There's no doubt about it. We do have a hostel on the V Road, which is again very iconic in terms of the views from some of the rooms, because you have a direct clear view of the sea from some of the rooms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we don't have much of campus. That's what we definitely lack.
Okay. Yeah. Aniket.
I think Dhaval covered it all as I would have it, right?
Yeah.
And
But your
and
your first week, how was it?
I think it's similar, right? You come to the college a couple of days earlier. You submit your documentation that your admission is complete and all the documentation is complete, and then you are given your official college email ID, and all the further communication starts happening on that. And then just before, when you're supposed to report tomorrow to college at maybe 6:30 a.m. or 7 a.m., you get an email in the night at say 10 p.m. that you have to report at 6 a.m. And that really sets you up for how the corporate deadlines would, tie up to be. But I think that's very important. Clearing an exam to get into a tier 1 college is just the first step, right? It's not the end. And that entire process, that entire week, is just to get you out of that mindset that there is something bigger in store for you, and there is the efforts that you had put in till now would only need to be amplified. So that is how it passes. And I think you make really good bonds in the first week because you spend so much time in those rooms with people, although you don't get a lot of time to interact, but whatever 10-15 minutes that you get every couple of hours or so, I think those are very good bonding times. So I think I would not like to spoil the fun for everyone who will be joining JB in the future, but I'd leave it at that.
Okay, okay, tell me, who's your favorite faculty member? Aniket, you can start, and then
I think for most of us, at least in MMS, at least it was Professor Bowman Moradian as an exemplary person. So that is the one person I would have.
Okay, Prathamesh, your favorite class or your favorite faculty member?
So yes, I would like to second with Aniket. Yes, Professor Bowman Moradian, sir, absolutely with his expertise and over years of his knowledge that he has and he shares with all of us. Okay, he is the one. And also we have a Professor Mankekar, sir, who is also great with all his knowledge and practical experience about the corporate finance. Yeah, so it was always a treat to be in their sessions, okay, and learn everything.
Okay. Yeah, Shashank, your favorite faculty class, or is there anything that happened to you on your first week that you remember, like, okay, embarrassing or memorable?
There was something embarrassing. I think Dhawal knows about this very well.
Okay.
So as Dhawal had mentioned that there's this induction that takes place, and prior to the induction, we have something known as a pre-joining assignment.
Okay.
And this is a assignment which is probably 18 to 20 pages long, which has core finance from point A to Z everywhere. And you can't make a lot of sense out of it. Especially as a fresher, you absolutely can't make a lot of sense out of it. And they usually created a WhatsApp group in which you had seniors and juniors, and the seniors were part of the induction committee. And I went to college and for submitting my for admission form, the fee check, etc. And I caught Dhawal and another senior on the campus compound, and because I knew who they were, I just started speaking to them, and I told them that, you know what, some of the people on this group are extremely mean. This news traveled back and it bit me on my backside quite heavily during the induction.
Okay. Tell me something about the clubs and committees at JBIMS. MMS, who would like to take? Prathamesh, you would like to answer? Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to answer.
I think there's some. No.
I will answer. I would like to answer that. So there are about 9 committees.
Okay.
And apart from that, there are about 4 clubs. So to name
is
the
this
9
only
committees,
for MMS or for MSc? I mean, anybody from JBIMS, is it?
For MMS, it is for, we have got 9 committees.
Okay.
We have got the alumni committee, the international research conference committee, the platform committee, the strategym, there is catalyst, there is a e-cell entrepreneurship cell, then there is corporate social responsibility, then of course uh, corporate relations committee, etc. Yeah. So and apart from that, we have got clubs for consulting, for finance, for marketing, for operations. So these are the
And is
4.
it
Yeah.
like compulsory to be part of any of these committees, or is it
Uh,
okay even if you are not?
it's not compulsory, of course, to join these committees, but yeah, everyone's enthusiastic to give the interviews and all for all these committees, and then be a part of the process, because ultimately it's a student-driven organization, and a lot of activities no rest on the shoulders of the students who are involved. There's a lot of life no at when you are a part of these committees, and even if you're not a part of these committees, but no when you can help them out by volunteering for their individual fest, which no run throughout the year. Okay, so you get a lot of opportunities to interact, no to be a part of that group, and no, because the campus is always buzzing with lot of activities as a part of all these clubs which are there.
Dhaval, would you like to talk about the MSc Finance clubs and committees?
Yeah, so we have 4 committees which will overlap with MMS.
Okay.
And apart from that, we have one club, of course, because we have finance. So, and but again, we are a small sized batch, so it keeps the hands full of almost everyone.
Okay. All right. Okay. And is there any student exchange program at JBIMS? Is there anyone? No?
No, we do not have a student exchange.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So let's move to the next section, which is all about internships and placements. And okay, and there are a lot of people, a lot of attendees. You guys are asking questions about CET cutoff, CAT cutoff. See, these things keep changing every time. So I would suggest that you guys keep visiting the IMS website, because we keep updating all the things that are being changed, and the cutoff percentages and everything, and even the rules and regulations, whatever is changing, we will be updating it there. So please check those answers there. Okay. And okay, so internships. Who's gonna start? About basically, the summer internship. Aniket and Prathamesh, you guys can talk very briefly about your summer internship. And if you are not able to get a good summer internship, does that affect your final placement process? So yeah, Aniket and Prathamesh, you guys can take it in parts. Aniket, you can start, and then Prathamesh. Yeah.
Sure. So I interned with JP Morgan. So I interned in the investment banking strategy division.
Okay.
And for me, it was more of an exploratory internship that I wanted to do, right? Because I was not sure about finance or marketing. And that is why I took up that internship. And for me, at least, it was clear that I did not want core fin, right? As in, I was okay with the relationship banking kind of role, but core fin was not supposedly meant for me. So after which I had an PPI from JP Morgan, which I did not pursue. But it did not affect my final placements in any which ways, right? Because I then, attempted for a sales and marketing kind of a profile, and I got through with Samsung. So as long as, like Shashank mentioned, right, if you're clear about why you want to do something, the how comes naturally. So I was clear that I wanted to do sales and marketing. So I took up all the competitions that were available with HUL, with, Colgates and all the Tata Steels of the world. I cleared a couple of them on a zonal level, one of them on a national level. So I think that really helps to build up the profile that, okay, I do not want to do this because I have done this, now I can do this. I think building that kind of a story is very important rather than just doing an internship in a particular field.
Okay.
Prathamesh, over to you.
Yeah. So, ma'am, I did my internship with Capgemini Consulting as a technology consultant. So my background was into information technology, and I wanted to pursue and wanted to be in that same sector. Okay. So Capgemini Consulting, over the course of my internship, I realized that my belief became even got stronger that I wish to remain in the same sector because it's an ever evolving sector based on the research and the developments that continue to happen. Okay. So of course, like mine was the first time probably when the internships had to happen remotely because it was a COVID year. So of course, like the on-premise experience would have been way better and way different, of course. And but of course, like even during those times, remote times, because it happened when COVID was almost at the peak. Okay, and we still managed to run through initiate the internships and get all our projects and the assignments through it. And of course, like the mentor who gets assigned to you during the course of your internship, all the knowledge that you are able to derive through all those interaction, it becomes really handy, and it becomes really effective for you going forward wherever you go or whichever stream you want to choose. Okay, so it's important that you work honestly and with a lot of dedication over the course of those 2 months for the internship that you have got, because you are supposed to prepare a report, submit it at the end of the internship as well as a part of your summer internship program, because that also it's a part of the marking scheme as well in the subsequent semester. Okay, so that is there. But of course, like to your question that no, not getting a good summer internship, it doesn't hamper your chances as such, because you can no try to apply for off summer internship programs as well, which can be taken up in your probably no during the third semester as a part, like no you while you're going through the semesters you can do that, or even no the gap between your third and fourth semester you can try to do the off summer internship programs as well. Okay, so that can also help you to build your profile, and eventually it helps you in the long run. Okay, depends upon the kind of competitions, as Aniket also mentioned, the kind of competitions that you do, the assignments that you get to have an exposure of.
Okay. Shashank and Dhaval, do you guys also have summer internships like the MMS program?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the structure remains the same.
Okay.
And in summer internships, so the moment you step into the B school, you are already, preoccupied with a lot of things. You have extremely busy days. And in a matter of month or month and a half, you are at the doors of, summer internship process. So again, it becomes very difficult, especially for somebody who is again a complete fresher. Then a lot of people are taken aback by that. So everybody has to be aware that summer internship I would slightly differ from Aniket and Prathamesh's opinion about how much does it matter. I'm not saying that not having a good summer internship does not translate into a good placements or anything. Obviously, you will have opportunities in your final placements, but we have to be mindful of the fact that there are a few marquee names, marquee companies, which will only prefer to take to the summer internship route. So if you miss that bus, you miss that bus for good, at least for the time being, unless you get out in the industry and eventually end up being in those organizations. So there are quite a few organizations, especially in select roles, they would definitely prefer this. Okay, and that is a key difference. That if you can't crack it, then maybe you miss that, at least that bus for good. That doesn't mean that in final placement you can't get a similar role with another organization. But yes, that there is that caveat. And summer internships does not mean the end of the world, but again, it's very critical because that defines your experience. As Aniket mentioned, it helps you in the elimination process. So it did the same for me also. I did my internship in ExxonMobil in corporate finance division. And it was, again, one branch of finance. I wanted to explore it. After doing that internship, again, I also realized, like Aniket, that this is not for me. This is a good stream, but I don't want to pursue this. Similarly, I also got a PPI. I rejected it. I knew that where I wanted to go now. I did a one winter internship that made me realize that, okay, investments is my way ahead. And hence that I was very clear with that. So this internship, if you get a right one, it will help you eliminate something. And maybe you may strike luck and, not even luck, but you might find a liking towards it and you may eventually end up in that. So it's critical, but that doesn't mean, or it doesn't ensure that you'll have a good or a bad place. Okay. You'll still have time to improve. You'll have still time for a year to perform, to build your knowledge. Competitions are a very critical part, as Aniket mentioned. They are one another way to get really good placements and really good exposure. Right. And that defines you, basically.
Okay. Shashank, can you talk a little bit more about from the placement bit and in MSc Finance, your placement experience and how it is in working at PwC? How exactly did that happen? Yeah, Shashank.
So Kalyani, I was campus placed with a startup called Legacy Investment Managers. And this was again a multi-family office, which is focused towards investments. The pandemic hit us, things did not particularly work out. And I had to then move to Kotak as a product manager. Okay. From Kotak, somehow I got a chance. It came from PwC where they said that, we realize that you have experience in banking and we would like to have you on board. So I have recently joined the consulting firm, and largely the journey on placements has been that. In terms of specific to JBIMS, placements for finals or even summers, MSc and MMS have certain common companies. And these are companies, say, and a Goldman Sachs or an ICICI Bank, where students from both the batches are eligible to sit for placements and interviews, and the process followed is common. There are certain companies, especially when you say sales and marketing, general management, which are only open to the MMS students, and they are exclusive to them. Okay. And there are certain companies in the financial domain which are only open to the MSc Finance cohort. But largely that is the placement structure that is followed. The placement week that is being follows is also the same one. So placements for MMS and MSc happen in tandem.
Can you tell us a little bit about your your placement experience and how exactly Tata CliQ happened? Was Tata CliQ your placement company? Or?
No, Tata CliQ was not. I joined Samsung. So yeah, so I actually had participated in Samsung's corporate case challenge, through which I had gone to the zonal. So I think that was one of the reasons I got a shortlist very early in the placement season. And it was a typical process, right? That you get a shortlist, then you have your first round of GDs. After you clear your round of GDs, then you have 2 rounds of interviews. So the first one was with the HR manager with Samsung, and the second one was with the regional sales manager of Samsung.
Okay.
I think the most important point, and I'm seeing a lot of questions around freshers and what kind of profiles that you build.
Yeah.
I would once again go to this, right? Even if you have a couple of years of experience, the recruiters are coming to the campus to see if you have that ability and potential to learn, right? If you are ready to pick up on things, people are more than happy to pick up you irrespective of your years of experience. I have also read some question about people having 5 years of experience. That matters, but that is not the stopping point as long as you show them that you can let go of your past and learn on new things, right? And in certain companies, especially in sales and marketing, companies actually prefer freshers, because what happens is that you are given roles typically in upcountry areas, in tier 3 and tier 4 towns. And a person with say 3 or 4 years of experience might not want to go to that kind of role. So to all the freshers out there, don't lose hope. At least in sales and marketing, you definitely have a better chance than the experienced people out there.
Okay.
So that's a very brief summary of the best placement.
How is JBIMS for consulting?
Yeah, we definitely have a good alum base in McKinsey and Company, right? So we had the India director who was our JB alum. Then we also have representation in BCG and Bain. So these three are part of the big four in the overall consulting space. We also have Accenture Strategy, who is a regular visitor to our campus, and of course there are a few others with whom we cannot disclose because of the agreements that we have with them. But we do have representation. It's not as wide as maybe an IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore, but we definitely have a 5 to 10% representation of our batch into the consulting field.
Okay. But JBIM is through CMAT or CET, which would be better?
CET is slightly easier because the number of seats that are available via CET is higher. CMAT then comes to the national quota, right? And that is typically 18. So it's roughly 15% of the batch that is through all India exams that includes CMAT, CAT and ZAT. So it's slightly difficult because then you have to be on point to get a 99.99 percentile and be the first couple of our first 10 students to get through that. So that is slightly difficult, I would say.
Okay.
CET is much more easier that even if you get a 99.9, you are still able to.
Okay. Shashank, how did you justify the interview board that you could do well as a fresher too in comparison to the other people who were experienced?
Okay, so this would be very specific to MSc Finance interview. The pivot that I picked up was that since this is not an MBA program, I do not need to look or the panel does not need to judge me on my work experience, because it is quite common for anybody with a bachelor's in economics to go ahead and do their master's in finance right after.
Okay.
So my justification was very centered around the course that I was looking to take up, instead of how exactly would I justify if I was going for an MBA course. So that's about it in terms of.
For finance, what type of course and certifications one should do to enhance their profile? Who can answer? Shashank or Dhaval? Dhaval, can you answer this?
Yeah, so see, if somebody is really interested in finance, as a lot of people are from the start, they are very headstrong and very clear about it, then they should definitely pick up something like a CFA or an FRM, depending upon their interests. It's again a long time commitment. It's not something, it will take at least the least time that it will take for clearing a CFA or an FRM is 1.5 to 2 years. So it's a long time commitment, but that will help you build a very, very strong base apart from whatever, even if you are pursuing MBA program and if your specialization is finance, CFA is something that will really help you add on to that knowledge. Okay. But apart from that, for starts, yes, there are some certain smaller NISM or Coursera programs that somebody can pick up, especially in financial modeling, in accounting or forensic accounting, that will help them build that base. Okay. Or there are even certain courses in corporate finance. Even I would recommend there is a professor of NYU Stone called Mr. Aswat Damodran. Okay, he is one of the pioneers in the field of valuation and corporate finance. Okay. And he is somebody who puts up his video lectures, every fall and summer on YouTube. You should go through those video lectures that will help you build quite a strong base and understanding in corporate finance and valuations as subjects. Okay. So if finance is something of your focus and your liking, this is something that you should definitely, some basics like NISM exams, and you can start with the video lectures of, Aswat.
Okay. Is MSc Finance more like quant finance or financial engineering, or is it good for
No.
No?
Nothing like core mathematics
Okay.
or anything like that. See, the first year focuses on building your basics in subjects of economics, accounting, corporate finance, so on and so forth. And in the next year, in the second year, you will delve into much deeper, more complex subjects like fixed income or valuations or structured finance. So that's where you delve deeper into, which are slightly more complex, which requires your basics to be in place. So it's not like quant kind of a course at all.
Okay.
So we'll have something on the quant side that will be technical analysis. So you try to understand and analyze the stocks or the stock performance by analyzing the charts and so on and so forth. But that's one small part of the entire curriculum.
We are now in the last bit of the session, which is all about some glimpse of some photos from the campus. So who would like to go first? Aniket, you have anything?
Sure, let me just I just have a couple of pics.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this is the main gate of the campus, and this is I was part of the Catalyst Forum, which is the student body. Okay. So this is during the Prayag festival that we have at our campus, typically in the first month of Jan. I think it's distended by the entire nature of the pandemic.
Okay.
The next photo that I probably have is this is the famous, what we call as quote unquote tub of JBIMS. And I would request all the other participants to also not reveal the secrets of it, because it's a long held tradition in induction. After the end of induction, our participants are inquired where this is and what this is. So I would just leave the participants. And this is once again the fabled red brick wall of JB. And typically I chose this pic because it's a fun one, because we had our holy ceremony. This was some part of a marketing batch who was there at that point of time. So I think these are the only 3 pics that I have. You can see that despite having a single building, we do have a lot of members in the same space, so which actually amplifies our relationship with the building a lot, rather than going to a very vast campus.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. So this is the auditorium that we have got here. So this was during the our induction, like the end of the induction, how we closed it out. At the close, okay, at the conclusion of it, okay. Then this is one of the photos during our traditional days, okay, which happened. Yeah. So and this is one of the photos that happened as a part of our research conference. So we have got a committee international research conference. So they happened to conduct it at. So this event was conducted at Trident. So everyone is invited, like the whole batch is invited, even the seniors are invited for this conference, which happens throughout the day. So it's a entire day program which happens at Trident. Okay, so that's also one of the things to look forward to. And so here you can see a mic there, okay, in front. Okay, so the person here, it's basically he was a guest at one of the founder tales that we had, the entrepreneurship cell that we have got. They had started this. So this person, Saurabh Nimkar, he's basically a musician who has got his institute. So the founder team basically takes a look at new people, young people who have become entrepreneurs and who have started their journey off. So we get to interact with them. They come to our campus. They reveal their stories. Okay, so we do get an exposure to this apart from the guest series lectures that we have got.
So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, yeah.
This is after our last M&A class in college.
Okay.
Then this is post placements. We no longer wear formals then. And this is on the last day of college. So these are the 3 photos that I have.
They're the red brick wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I guess, whatever questions you want to ask any of these speakers, you can always reach them on LinkedIn. I hope, Shashank, Prathamesh, you are okay with that. Yeah. So, and they'll be answering your questions and all. And for the other questions that, you're talking about for regarding CET, CMAT, please visit IMS website and you will get all the information and all the deadlines and all the updates. on these things. Thanks all of you. And thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Prathamesh. Thank you, Aniket and Dhaval. And thank you all your attendees. And yeah, we'll see you next time.